You could search an address on Google Maps, walk across the border, and make a purchase without anyone realizing what was really happening. For years, this operation stayed visible, yet untouchable. Then in one night, everything shifted. 37 people, 7 aircraft, 6 US cities, the largest bilateral operation on record. What authorities just accomplished changes everything, and most people have no idea it even happened. Here is where the story actually begins. January 20th, 2026. The operation began just after midnight. 7 aircraft, each assigned a specific manifest, lifted off from airfields in Mexico within minutes of one another. Every flight carried individuals bound for federal custody in the United States. The destinations formed a national arc. Washington, Houston, San Antonio, San Diego, New York, Pennsylvania. Coordination between agencies was exact. Each aircraft's flight path was logged to the minute, with federal teams waiting at every arrival point. Inside the command centers, representatives from the DEA, FBI, US Marshals, ATF, and Mexican federal authorities monitored the progress in real time. Secure channels carried updates as each plane crossed into US airspace. At 2:14 a.m., the first aircraft touched down in Houston. Within the next 2 hours, 5 more landed at their assigned cities. The final aircraft, carrying the last group of individuals, arrived in Pennsylvania just after dawn. On the ground, teams moved quickly. Transfer protocols were executed with precision. Each individual was processed, documented, and handed over according to federal guidelines. By sunrise, all 37 were in US custody. The entire operation unfolded in less than 8 hours, from coordinated takeoffs in Mexico to final arrivals across 6 American cities. The logistics behind this night required years of preparation. Every detail, flight manifests, ground teams, holding facilities, had been mapped out long in advance. Thousands of hours of surveillance and interagency meetings led to this single, coordinated event. For the agencies involved, the night represented not just a transfer, but the culmination of a long-term strategy. The numbers alone tell part of the story. 7 aircraft, 6 cities, 37 individuals, but behind each number was a team, a checklist, and a timeline measured in seconds. As dawn broke over the East Coast, the operation was complete. And for those tracking the case files, this was just the beginning of what would become the most ambitious bilateral enforcement effort on record. In Tijuana, a single address became the focus of years of investigation. The location was not hidden behind coded doors or buried in back alleys. For years, anyone could type the address into a search bar, and the storefront would appear, plain, ordinary, listed alongside restaurants and hardware shops. Regular foot traffic crossed from the US into Mexico, walked straight to the door, and left minutes later. Logs show the pattern held steady, day and night, with hundreds of crossings each week. Federal investigators referred to the site as the Office. According to case files, the name started as an inside joke among agents, a nod to the operation's brazen openness. Surveillance teams documented every transaction, tracking faces, vehicles, and purchase times. Over months, the evidence grew. Thousands of entries, each one marked by time-stamped footage and border records. The storefront's activity never slowed, even as scrutiny increased. What set the Office apart was its visibility. The address remained online, easy to find, despite mounting evidence and ongoing surveillance. Investigators watched as new faces arrived, some from as far as Arizona or California, each following the same routine: arrive, enter, leave. The volume of foot traffic raised questions, but the storefront's outward appearance gave nothing away. No signs, no crowds, just a steady stream of brief visits. Authorities waited, building their case. Every transaction was logged, every pattern mapped. In January 2024, Mexican federal authorities moved in. The storefront was formally closed, its doors locked for the first time in years. The operator, identified in federal paperwork as the leader of the network, was detained and later transferred to US custody. According to DOJ, the individual now faces federal proceedings carrying the maximum penalty under US law. The closure of the Office was the result of patient, methodical investigation. For years, what looked like an ordinary storefront operated in plain sight, its activity hidden only by its own openness. The evidence gathered from this single address would become a central piece in a much larger case, one that reached far beyond Tijuana and far beyond a single name on a map. December 2024 brought a discovery that would redefine the scale of cross-border enforcement. In a series of coordinated actions spanning multiple sites, Federal teams from both the United States and Mexico converged on a network that, until then, had operated with clinical precision. The logistics behind the operation were staggering. According to DOJ records, agents recovered 1,500 kilograms, 1.65 metric tons, of material from a cluster of warehouses. The sheer volume eclipsed previous records, outstripping the totals recovered by many countries over entire years. Every detail had been mapped out in advance. Surveillance logs documented shipments arriving at odd hours, unmarked trucks leaving under cover of darkness, and coded communications moving between locations. The network's reach extended far beyond a single city, linking distribution points across the border. Federal teams worked side by side, with real-time intelligence flowing between command centers in both countries. The operation required months of planning, with every move coordinated to the minute. Inside the warehouses, investigators found industrial-scale equipment, ledgers tracking shipments by the kilogram, and evidence of a distribution system built for volume, not secrecy. The recovery totaled more than 3,300 pounds, enough to set a new benchmark in the record books. According to DOJ, no single operation of this kind had ever yielded a haul of this size. The numbers spoke for themselves, but for the agents involved, the real achievement lay in the collaboration. 2 governments, multiple agencies, and a network dismantled in a single night. This was not just a record, it was a statement of capability and a warning to any network operating at scale. Federal prosecutors filed charges that had never before been brought in this context. According to federal indictments, one of the individuals transferred on January 20th became the first to face proceedings under 18 United States Code Section 20-39B for providing material support to a designated foreign organization. The charge carries a maximum sentence of 20 years to life and applies only when prosecutors can prove knowledge of the organization's status and direct support for its operations. The courtroom in Washington District of Columbia became the center of attention as the indictment was read, with agency representatives and legal teams present from both the United States and Mexico. Official statements reflected the magnitude of the case. The Department of Justice called it a landmark achievement, citing the unprecedented use of the statute in a bilateral context. The DEA emphasized ongoing commitment, stating, "We will continue to drive forward with our partners to ensure accountability at every level." The FBI highlighted the broader impact. This demonstrates that coordinated action can reach even the most protected networks. The material support charge did more than increase penalties. It signaled a new approach, one that treats such networks not only as distribution threats, but as organizations whose activities cross border into national security territory. Prosecutors relied on years of surveillance, financial records, and cross-border intelligence to meet the evidentiary standard. By the end of January, the first hearings were underway, with all 37 individuals facing federal proceedings. According to the Department of Justice, further transfers and indictments remain possible as investigations continue. According to DOJ, coordinated operations of this scale are now possible and ongoing. As agencies accelerate cooperation, the line between visible and hidden networks keeps shifting. The outcome isn't just legal, it's strategic. What's visible today could change tomorrow. The next chapter is already being written. Thanks for watching.